Hello everyone, welcome to the video that is going to be covering all of the new Renown units that were implemented with the Norskin patch. That now all the DLC races for Warhammer 1 have received their Renown units. It's all for free, you just got to go to Total War Access, and if you don't have an account there, then you need to sign up and then you can get these, I think it's a Steam code for free. So you get access to 30-ish Renown units spread amongst the different factions. So that's what this video is going to focus on. It's not going to be as long as my other overview videos because honestly I'm not super impressed with a lot of the Renown units, so this is probably going to be a pretty quick video. And we're going to start with the Beastmen and kind of just work our way through the different factions that received their Renown units, starting with the Destroyers of Drakon. These are the upgraded form of the Ungor Spearman Herd, a unit with shields specifically. A unit that I never use, so there's that. I'm going to compare them to the unit that I actually use, which is the Ungor Spearman Herd. So for double the amount of money, you're gaining a shield, which honestly, that's... No, we'll go back to this. For 200 more than the normal Ungor Herd with Spear, you're getting additional leadership, you're gaining a lot of melee defense, and a decent amount of melee attack. But on top of that, you are also gaining poison damage. That's neat. So far, the only other poison damage that this group had were their Chaos Spawn and their Chaos Warhounds with poison. So now they have a third, I guess technically a fourth poison, because Kazrak can also gain a special item which grants him temporary poison damage. So it's neat, but the thing is, like, I don't think the Beastman army necessarily needed another source of poison, because they had a very cheap access and very fast poison, and then they had a beefier, more expensive form of poison as well. But if you feel that you need to support maybe your Cav, your Centaurs against an enemy force and throw poison in there, and you don't want the very squishy Chaos Warhounds, and you don't want to spend that much money for the Chaos Spawn, well, you can throw these Drakon Wold or Destroyers Drakon Wold in there, and they can do a decent job. They have pretty beefy melee defense, but they are still Ungors. They're not the best. And it's not really that impressive of a unit, I think. But again, if you want poison in your army, there you go. But it's meh. My review of this unit is like meh, just kind of meh. And that's how I kind of feel about a lot of the Beastmen Renown units, actually. Moving on to the second one, we have the Blackhorns Ravagers, the upgraded version of the Gore Herds with shields. And let me just state this: technically, the Renown units are always worth it, cost-wise, because if we just put up this to around 750, it's 756, you can see that the stats are always going to be better on the Renown unit, but they always usually at least get a thing, like at least a trait that does make them worth it over just like, well, why don't I just upgrade a Gore Herd with shield up to 750 and then get a beefier Gore Herd if I really want that. So, like, Renown units are always kind of worth it. It's just up to you if you feel like you need that specific unit. And when it comes to the Blackhorns Ravagers, meh. They do have the better stats than the Gore Herd. They cost 250 more, like I said. They have the better leadership. They have better armor, which is a cool thing. They do have Rowdy, which is a Centaur trait, which allows them to be immune to vigor and even additional leadership until they start to waver. Once they waver, it's gone. And then they also have Vanguard and Stalk. Stalk is really cool. Vanguard is also kind of cool. The thing is, at least for me personally, I don't really use Vanguard deployment on Beastman armies. I think it's pretty risky, but if you want to try and surprise your enemy's backline with a somewhat tanky Gore Herd, go for it. If you put these guys in the main line of your infantry, then I think the enemy's probably going to know what's going on when they see just this like giant hole. They'll be like, huh, that's weird. It feels like there should be a unit there. And then they're going to be like, well, that's either going to be these guys or the Ungor Herd, who can also have Stalk. So if you're looking to surprise people, you need to have these guys kind of Vanguard deployed out in the middle of nowhere, and if you really want to be super crazy, you can throw 2 Ungor Herds with them, and then you have this relatively cheap Vanguard deployed force that can be ready to move pretty fast as far as infantry goes across the battlefield, and again, get into the enemy's backside, get into the crossbows and all those squishy bits. It is possible. I don't know how often I'm going to actually utilize their Vanguard, because like I said, I don't really do Vanguard Beastman armies. But this gives you another option to throw another unit into your Vanguard deployed stalking force, which is neat. And the fact that they do have Rowdy is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. All for only 250 costs. They get better stats and all those other traits, so neat. But I'm still kind of meh on them overall. So next on, we go to Korok's Man Rippers, the upgraded form of the Bestigor Herd. These guys turn into Glaive Infantry, which is going to give them a bonus versus large. I think it's like 15? 16, sorry. It is 16 bonus versus large. Besides that, their stats, of course, are better. And they also gain charge defense versus large because now they are an anti-large unit that still has their 100 armor and 10 additional leadership. Yeah, 10 additional leadership, so they're going to stay in combat more. So this is kind of a tricky unit. If you really need your lines to hold a long time, then you can throw them in the main line and they can do okay against just other infantry units, but it's kind of a waste of their bonus versus large. They can do a lot of damage to armored cav if you want to try and whip them around the flanks and support your Centaurs. In a cav on cav fight, they can do really well there, but it is a very expensive unit for that kind of role, for a more supportive role. But they can do both. They can be tanky defenders on the main line, or they can whip out in the flanks with a 37 speed, which is still pretty fast for infantry, and they can support your Centaurs. I think overall they're worth it. I would probably use these more than I would use the other two Renown units currently in the infantry for the Beastmen. Like, the thing is, the theme for the Beastmen Renown unit seems to be a focus on tankiness. And I don't really think that's what the Beastmen should have. If anything, I think they just need more tools to break enemy formations even quicker. And they do have one of those tools we'll get to later. Actually, I guess two. But in terms of the infantry, like, I don't really think they needed the Korok's Man Rippers. It's neat that they finally do actually have an anti-large elite infantry unit to their arsenal. I don't think they really needed it, but it's at least a nice tool addition. And that's what I like with Renown units. I like Renown units to actually give something different to the army, and these guys definitely do, because they're an elite anti-large unit, which you can utilize against almost all factions in the game. Don't put these up against mammoths, though. No. They're not going to do well against Norscan mammoths. Like, most halberd infantry in general don't do well against Norscan mammoths. So don't think like, oh, maybe I could bring these against Norskins. That'd be okay. They could be pretty okay against the Famir, because the Famir have pretty low melee stats. So their melee defense against the Famir are going to be pretty good, and they can destroy like those types of units. They can destroy their armored skin wolf, those types of guys, but not mammoths. Don't be thinking these guys are going to hold up against mammoth charges. Moving on to the Cav, the Sons of Goros. These are going to be the upgraded Centaurs with great weapons. They do the same amount of damage. They only have a +9 to melee attack and defense, which I think is one of the rare occasions where their melee stats are actually not going to be stronger than a buffed up Centaur. Okay, never mind. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm totally wrong. Never mind. Don't listen to me. But besides those buff upgrades, they also now gain magical attacks. Their armor is doubled, and their leadership, I think I already said, is +10. All good things. So they are double armor, which is great for the Centaurs. It makes them a little bit more tankier. And they also have a Guardian trait, the 36% physical resistance that is going to affect all lords and heroes around them. So, well, if you're looking at the double Gorbulls, if you have these guys embedded with the Sons of Goros, they are going to be that much tankier. 36% in fact, as long as you're not fighting magical attack units, because that physical resistance will be negated by magical attacks. So this is neat. You can keep these guys around Morgor and make him even tankier than he already is, or any of these lords. So I like the Guardian trait. The Beastmen now have it. It's going to make the Gorbul Doom Squad that much stronger. Now, these guys can still be killed pretty quickly by the like elite cav units, the Blood Knights, Grail Knights. The 70 armor is nice, but it's not going to keep them alive against that heavy shock cav. So you still need to be careful. If you're bringing these guys specifically to keep your heroes and units that much tankier, you need to make sure that you position them in a way where they're not going to be charged and just wiped out like that, because they can be. They are tankier than normal Centaurs for sure, but they still can't really withstand a Blood Knight charge that well. It's not pretty. But as long as you can maybe disrupt the Blood Knights with your Gorbulls, send them in first, and then send in the Sons of Goros, they are a very nice supporting unit to a Doom, what I'm calling the Doom Bull squad, which a Doom Bull is an actual unit in the tabletop, I believe, not Gorbulls, but I'm calling them Doom Bulls because there's two of them, and then now they're going to be tankier with these guys. It's a pretty nice unit. Pretty nice unit. I wish they kind of did slightly more damage than the normal Centaurs, but you know what? For 250 more, or I'm sorry, for 300 more, getting a Guardian trait and magical attacks and more armor is still neat. It's one of the units that I actually like of the Bestigor Renown units, along with those Korok Man Rippers. Then we move on to what I think is going to become, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Staple? Yeah, like the staple of a Beastman army. Kind of like how Gorbals are a staple of a Beastman army. Well, now we have these Minotaurs, the Butchers of Kalkengard. The renowned version of Minotaurs with shields. For 250 more, once again, you're getting the stat increases. Plus 11 melee attack, plus 12 melee defense, and additional leadership. But the coolest thing is that these guys, these crazy bulls, have terror and regeneration. So not only are they super tanky as a monstrous infantry with 58 melee defense, they have the good shield, they have pretty high leadership, but they also have regeneration to keep them in the fight longer, and they exude terror, and I think terror is one of the things that the Beastmen were the weakest in. You would think, looking at this army, like, oh, well, all these guys have to, like, exude terror, right? No, they don't. Before this, the only things that have terror are the Giant and the Cygor. So the two giant units of the Beastman army are the only ones who had terror. And in a lot of cases, Giants are just so easily focused, and, I mean, Cygors are still okay, but normally I don't bring them anyway. And I always thought, like, we need, like, at least the Gorbals or, like, some kind of Minotaur to have terror. And now they do. The Butchers of Kalkengard. So I think you're going to see these Minotaurs a lot. They are super tanky. On top of that, they are regenerating, so they are weaknesses to fire. So beware if you see, like, fire wizards and shit running around, because they do have low armor and a weakness to fire. So if you have a fire wizard flying above you, like an Imperial Bright Wizard, just flying above you, they can shoot fireballs for really cheap, and they can do a pretty good amount of damage, so just be careful of that. But besides that, these guys are super tanky, they're really good. I think they're going to become... I nearly want to say they're going to become like a third Gorbal, basically. So it's going to always be double Gorbals, and these guys like in every single army, because I think they're just that good. And that is going... Oh, sorry, no, one more Renown unit. My bad. The upgraded Cygor, the Eye of Morslieb. This is going to be a Cygor that actually has additional ranged damage. Their magical attacks for range and melee. Their melee stats are up to 56, which is really high. And then they also gain this really cool ability, Warp Gaze. So every 90 seconds, it does start on cooldown. You can then net an enemy unit for 16 seconds. In this game, immobilizing units is a really big deal, so that's really good. And for only 200 more, you can see the stat changes here. Yeah, this is like the Arachnarok and the Arachnarok Queen, or the Luminarch and the Temple of Luminarch. You always want to go, I think, with the renowned version of the Cygor from now on. Always go with the Eye of Morslieb. Just the Hex alone is really good, but the fact that they do more damage with their attacks and they're magical, I think are pretty big deals. Also, this thing looks cool. It's just hauling around a giant hunk of amber that the Wood Elves try to mine. It's really cool. So that is going to do it for the Beastman roster. Overall, I'm kind of like meh about the Beastman. This one is like okay. I kind of also like the Sons of Goros, but I really like the Butchers of Kalkengard. And the Eye of Morslieb is cool. But the Butchers of Kalkengard, though, I think are going to be... mwah, you know what I'm saying? Just really good. Next, let's move on to Petunia. Petunia, we're going to start with the Holy Wardens of however you pronounce that French word. These guys are kind of exactly what I was looking for with Battle Pilgrims, because they are the upgraded Battle Pilgrim. For 200 more, you get, again, increased stats. But the big thing about these guys is that they lose their shield, and they gain awesome looking like little battle hammers and flaming swords. So these guys are flaming... magical attack, more offensively focused Battle Pilgrims. All I wanted was more offensively focused Battle Pilgrims. I wasn't expecting fire and magical attacks. Like, they have it all. So these guys are pretty good. They're pretty good. If you want to go Battle Pilgrim route, I would definitely go the Holy Wardens, and if you want more Battle Pilgrims, then grab, you know, other Battle Pilgrims to your heart's content. But I think these guys are really good. Flaming magical attacks with a high melee damage, or a high melee attack stat. Pretty high weapon strength, which I think goes up to 51 or 52 when the Frenzy is active, because, by the way, they also have Frenzy like the Battle Pilgrims do. And I think they're a very solid unit for only 200 more than a normal Battle Pilgrim. They do lose a shield, but, like, how often do you really get focused by archers anyway? Like, archers are always going to be focusing your knights or your lord. I rarely see archers really focus on Battle Pilgrims. But maybe they will focus on these guys, because these guys can be a terror on the battlefield. Definitely worth it. And that being said, let's move on to the Beast Slayers of Baston. The I don't want to say upgraded foot squires, because they're technically not, because they're kind of like the Beastman's Bestigors. They have a different function. The Beast Slayers are foot squires, but they are more focused on anti-large. They look cool. They look very cool. They are 100 more than a normal foot squire, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're better, because you can see here, like, they are more melee, or they're tankier than a foot squire, and I guess they do technically have more melee attack, but I don't think Petunia needed a foot squire halberd unit, because really, like, the men-at-arms with polearms I think are good enough, and they even have the same like, these guys aren't even boosted in damage-wise. I think it's the exact same polearm as these dudes are wielding. Let's see, 6, 17, and 15, I believe it's the same. Yeah, so it's just really, I guess, like a tankier men-at-arms with polearm. Like, the biggest that I could ever. If you really think you need an extra tankier unit in your infantry line, cool. They're very slow, so it's going to be hard to react to cav moving around the flanks. I don't think they needed this foot squire. You have the men-at-arms with polearms. Yeah, their leadership sucks. These guys' leadership is better. They will hold a little bit longer. Like, at least give them a better halberd. Like, give them something. But I don't... That's how I feel about these guys. They're just kind of... I'm sure people use them. I may use them a few times, but... Let's get on to the actual cool units. The Renown Knight unit, starting with the Defenders of the Fleur-De-Lis. These are upgraded Knights Errant, so if you wanted to get a Knights Errant, well then I would suggest that you always upgrade to the Defenders of the Fleur-De-Lis. Not only do they have better stats and leadership and a better shield for blocking archers and ranged attacks, but they also have Frenzy. So they're even stronger than what their stats are showing you. They're still light shock cav. Like, the Frenzy is not going to make them beasts on the battlefield necessarily, but I think for only 150 upgrade, it's definitely worth grabbing these over a normal Knight Errant. If you're like, you know what, I think I can really use a light shock cav, let me grab a Knight Errant. Well, kind of like the Luminarchs and the Cygors, I think you should always upgrade to the Defenders of the Fleur-De-Lis. Better stats and Frenzy on top of it. It's like a no-brainer. I think these guys are pretty good. They also look really cool. Then the next unit is, like, all the cav units here look really cool. The Knights of the Lionhearted are the upgraded version of Knights of the Realm, who are well on their way to becoming Grail Knights, I guess, considering they have those flaming lances. And for 250 cost increase, again, they got the stats increase, but they also gain fear and an encouraging aura. Besides that, though, there's really not much difference. They don't have, like, a damage increase. I'm sorry, but they do have magical attacks. I'm sorry, because of their magical lances now, which is neat. This faction has a lot of other magical attacks. I think this is going to be one of the cheaper ones besides the Wardens now, right? I think so. In terms of cav, at the very least, because you had to go all the way up to Grail Knights to get cav with magical attacks, or, you know, even more expensive with the Royal Pegasus Knights. So this is a slightly cheaper cav with magical attacks, which is neat. The encouraging aura is neat. The fear is always a welcome thing. And for 250 cost increase, not only do you get a much cooler looking Knights of the Realm, but they also can buff your allies' leadership and grant fear, which I think is also pretty cool. You're probably going to be seeing Knights of Lionhearted, I would think, in a lot of battles. I'm not going to say they're a unit you need in everyone, but I definitely like them. And speaking of liking, let's move on to the Companions of Nellis. How do you pronounce it? Another cool looking cav unit, and I think these are basically Grail Knights with swords, is what they basically are. Because these are going to be the upgraded versions of the Questing Knights, but the thing is, they also have the Blessing of the Lady, so I guess that pretty much says that they are Grail Knights. And they are beasts. These guys are beasts. I think this is going to be another one of those times where I say, if you want a Questing Knight, grab the Companions first. If you need more, then you just grab more. But I think this is always going to be a necessary upgrade. For only 200 more, you're getting a lot better stats, more armor. You get fire resistance, which is neat, but you're also getting the 20% physical resistance with the Blessing of the Lady. Again, these are Grail Knights, basically, that are just anti-armor with giant, like, claymores, or whatever you call it, longswords. I don't know what they're called. Very, very cool. Nice addition to the cav roster. And then we're going to move on to the last Petunia unit, which is going to be the Wardens of Montford. I don't know if anyone was asking for a renowned version of mounted yeoman archers, but here we have it. For 200 more, you get a much higher damage output and poison attacks. Also, their melee stats and leadership are also increased, which is neat. They make a decent light cav, I guess, if you want to charge down very, very light targets. They can do that, but their big focus is going to be 28 missile damage and that are poison attacks. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I don't really use mounted yeoman that much because they are very annoying. They are effective, especially if you roll them in like this type of pack. That's going to be very annoying and kind of hard to catch. Because like a strategy, okay, so this is a strategy you can use. Take these two and the Wardens of Montford with the poison damage. Annoy your opponents. If they send any units after you, one thing, these guys are so fast anyway. But if they get close, all you gotta do is run screens with like a Royal Pegasus Knight. Because anything they send after these guys are most likely going to be able to be wiped out by these things. So they're not going to be able to take out your mounted yeoman archers as long as you protect them with a flying force, or hell, even just a flying lord will probably be enough for whatever the hell they send after these units that can actually catch them, that is. Like, you know, hounds. So yeah, you can just keep them safe with like a Royal Pegasus Knight, and then these guys can just go to town. I think you're probably going to, if not, you probably already see this type of strategy utilized by some Bretonians, but if not, you probably will see them more now, because these guys are actually pretty good. They're pretty good. And that is going to do it for the Bretonians. So next we're going to move on to what I think is the faction that got the coolest additions for the Renown unit. I'm actually excited for almost all of these. Starting with the Demon Spew. This is another unit, like those Butchers of Kalkingrad for the Beastmen, that I think you're going to see in every army. Always take the Demon Spew. They are the upgraded version of the Forsaken. They are only 150 more. You get the better stats, but they are also now poison. And they gain the Swarm of Flies, which is a -8 melee attack to everything around this unit. Like, what? These guys are so good. They are so good. They are, listen, I'm going to get close. They are so good. Take these, for the love of God. Just so good. Alright, next on we move on to the Mirror Guard, which is probably like now my coolest looking unit in the game. One of, at least, like top 5. Because I love the Roman soldiers from Rome 2, and these guys have the plumage on their helmet, the crest or whatever. They look awesome. And it goes along with the theme of this army, which is kind of finally gearing chaos into chaos, what would it be considered, divided, because we're actually getting units that are kind of devoted to different gods here, which is great. And I think we're going to see more of this maybe in Warhammer 2, but I think the big boost to chaos is going to be Warhammer 3 when they actually get really different armies with, you know, Nurgle to Zeech, or Zeech, Slaanesh, and Khorne. But now, you know, we're on our way, and this is like the first step, because most of these units are kind of designated to different lords in the roster for chaos. So these guys, the Mirror Guard, it's probably pretty easy to tell, they are the people that are going with Prince Sigvald. They even have their speed match Prince Sigvald, 38 and 38. They obviously are wearing his armor, they have his shield, because the thing is, they're his bodyguard, and he has them in this armor in the lore because at any time he can look around and see himself. Because Sigvald is so vain. He just loves himself. And that's great. And they actually put the Mirror Guard in here. Now, use-wise, they are so cool looking. They are a step... Okay, so these are the I'm sorry, I didn't say this before, but they are the upgraded version of the Chaos Warriors. So for, what's this, 300 more, you do get a much tankier Chaos Warrior that is also immune to psychology. Their damage is the same, but they are very tanky. They are a step in between Chaos Warriors and Chaos Chosen. And I don't know how often you're going to need them in your army, but God, I want them in every army because they just look so cool. And I'm really torn, because I love things that look awesome, but I don't know how actually useful these things are. Yes, they can tank for a long time, immune to psychology, which, let's be real, why the hell do the Chosen not have immune to psychology by now? Like, why are these guys so damn expensive, and they don't even throw them a bone? They don't even ever throw them, like, okay, fine, here, we'll give you guys immune to psychology, but then they, like, twist the wound deeper by adding this Renown unit, which is an upgraded version of Chaos Warriors, a step down from Chosen, but they give these bastards immune to psychology. I'm like, what? Like, what a slap in the face to the Chosen, man. Give them immune to psychology. Something. Make them useful in multiplayer. Like, yeah, they do have their uses. They are super good, but like they're just so damn expensive. Just give them that. Like, they're still not going to be worth the cost, even with the immune to psychology, but at least you give them that. I've been saying that for months. Like, I wish in every update they'll just do like a stealth update, like, okay, now we give Chosen immune to psychology, please. But anyway, back to the Mirror Guard. I don't know how often you're actually going to need these guys in your army. They look awesome. They are tanky if you really need a super tanky Chaos Warrior. But, they are definitely not on the level of the Demon Spew, which I think should be in every army. Listen, take them in every army. Mirror Guard, But let's move on to another actually really cool unit. These are these Swords of Chaos, and these are Archaon's boys. They have apparently been with Archaon since the beginning, I think is their lore. And they are extremely powerful. There are only 18 of them, but holy crap, they are very, very strong. They have flaming attacks. Their stats are actually a lot better than Grail Knights, which I think are the tanky, or Grail Guardians, sorry, which have been the tankiest cav in the game, but now I think that's going to fall on to the Swords of Chaos. Although they do have fewer model count, their melee attack is like 20 above a Grail Guardian, and even their melee defense I think is like 5 or 6 above a Grail Guardian. But on top of that, they have a very high damage, armor piercing, and bonus versus infantry of 18. I have thrown these guys in test rounds against multiple Black Orc groups, and they can kill the Black Orcs. And there's only 18 of them, but like I think they're definitely worth the cost, because on top of all this cool stuff, super tanky, cool cav, they also have the Guardian trait, so you can put these guys almost in any army, because almost all of these lords are lords that are meant to be in melee, and that could definitely use the Guardian trait. You know, Kolek, Chaos Lord, Sigvald, and don't use Sigvald. Like, Sigvald I think got a minor buff in this game, but still don't. In multiplayer, he looks cool. He's got his Mirror Guard. Don't use Sigvald. He's kind of near useless. But like Archaon I think got a buff. He now has Frenzy, and on top of that, I think his stats got slightly buffed as well. But he has Frenzy. Archaon now has Frenzy. That's such a big deal. This guy is such a beast, and you especially throw him with the Swords of Chaos with that 46% resistance, because now Archaon has a 10% native resistance that he has it all the time, but he put him with the Swords of Chaos, he's going to be bump up to 46%. Very, very tanky. But anyway, the Swords of Chaos, very good unit. I think you're going to see them a lot. Oh my god, I forgot to even mention their last trait. My bad. I'm so excited about the Guardian trait and about how badass these guys are. Apocalyptic Charge. So whenever an enemy gets within 200 meters of this unit, or they get within 200 meters of an enemy unit, your entire army is buffed with speed and charge speed for 25 seconds. Simple as that. It's pretty cool, because a lot of the Chaos Forces are pretty slow, so this is going to make them a lot faster to get into engagement. So if you're charging against like a Dwarven fortified position with a bunch of cannons going, you know, pew, 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 well, you get these guys close to a Dwarf, and then your army's going to move that much faster to try and close the gap and not get hit by as much artillery fire or guns or whatever have you. And again, these guys are great with Kolek. They are great with almost any Lord. They're great. I think they're definitely worth 1,800. They're very expensive, but I think they are very worth it. In fact, let me actually show you a video here. I'm going to utilize the Mirror Guard to try and show you how tanky they are, and I think this is going to be a video with Kolek Sun Eater, a Shaggoth, the Swords of Chaos, and the Mirror Guard, and then I think a Flame Wizard, to try and show you a potential way of fighting against Greenskins, because the Shaggoths are excellent against like Arachnarok spiders, so that's what I'm going to be fighting against. But also to let you know, the way to counter Norska is with this build as well, because these guys can murder mammoths pretty quickly, especially when you buff them up with the Fire Sorcerer and, you know, the weakness to the fire damage, and then you throw on the Flaming Sword of Ruin, and you can do Cascading Fire Cloak or use Piercing Bolts of Burning. All these are good against Norska as well, especially against like their Berserkers. This thing wrecks Berserkers. But yeah, let me show you a video. This is going to be against the Greenskins, just showing you some of these units in an actual fight against the Arachnarok Queen and some Black Orcs.
Chaos Sorcerer, I serve. Abomination awaits. As fucking before. That's your man. Homework Sonisa. Storm Corner. So it is! Somebody's eye! Very well! The shadow attacks! Clean magic! Honor the dark gods! That's my end! Destroy! Arcane torment awaits! Homework Sarisa! My legend is yours! Chaos is magic! Very good. Star Crusher. I'm terrible. God's planning for it. Comrade Sonny's I am mountain god. Chaos Sorcerer. Tempest Incarnate! Agreed! Vengeance Metaglory! Chaos Sorcerer! All will be held! The path is sacred! I move fast! For the Chaos Gods! My magic is ready! I am enraged! This is will! Yes! Kill them!
So there you go, a little sample build of a little blob of units that you can use against, again, the greenskins. You can use that against Norskins. Beware though, if you're facing against the greenskins and they have the Orc Shaman, see if they have the Foot of Gork. Because if you blob up like that against the Foot of Gork, you're going to have a bad day. So just be careful about that. Moving on to the next Renown unit, we have the Weird Spawn, which is another just cool addition to the Chaos Army. This is a upgraded Chaos Spawn for 200 more. Again, you get the increased stats, that is normal, but they also have physical resistance of 30%, and they have sundering attacks. Something that the Chaos Army has been lacking, so now here you have a really strong monster unit that sunders any unit that it's fighting. I think these guys are great. That's it. They're great. You should use them. They're really good. They're super tanky, unbreakable like other Chaos Spawn, and they sunder. Enough said, I think. Right? Yeah. Moving on to one of the last units, we have these Summoners of Rage. These are going to be kind of Colex Dragon Ogres. They are going to be the upgraded version of the normal Dragon Ogres for 150. You get the melee stat increase, which is actually pretty significant. These guys also grant you magical attacks, which is a somewhat of a rarity in the Chaos Army, now that I think about it. So that's kind of a big deal. And on top of that, they gain Chain Lightning. One cast that starts on cooldown, and you need to be engaged in melee to get it. So it will take 56 seconds in melee to get a cast of Chain Lightning, which is pretty cool. So if you really want to take Dragon Ogres, I still think the Shaggoth Kolek combo is still stronger. But if you want Dragon Ogres that can cast Chain Lightning and you need magical damage maybe, then sure, go for the Summoners of Rage. I think they're good. I think they're definitely better than normal Dragon Ogres at the very least, and for only 150 more, yeah, like they're pretty tanky. They got 54 melee defense. Yeah, go for it. I like them. Thumbs up for me. And then we move on to the Soul of Damnation, which is going to be another one of the units that I think, yeah, if you want to go for Hell Cannon, just grab the Soul of Damnation. It's cool. It's cool looking, and it has even more missile damage than the other Hell Cannon. And on top of that, this thing comes with a unique trait called Soul Devourer. So if there is any enemy unit in range of the this Hell Cannon within 100 meters, this thing reloads, I think, basically 40% faster. Only one time and for 44 seconds, but in those 44 seconds, this thing's just going to go pew, pew. Well, not that fast, but 40% faster than a normal Hell Cannon at even more damage than the other Hell Cannon, and it's only 200 more. Yeah, I think you should just upgrade to this. It's a really good Hell Cannon. I don't think it's going to be a staple necessarily of every single army like the Demon Spew will be, but I think it's a nice addition. Overall, I'm very happy about the Renown units added to Chaos, and I'm so torn on the Mirror Guard because they look so cool, but I just don't think they're really needed in this army at all. You already have so many different types of tanky infantry. You don't necessarily need these guys, but they look so cool. Oh, I'm so unhappy about it. Anyway, let's go to the Wood Elves, which is going to be the last faction we're covering, starting with the Winterheart Guard. These are your upgraded Eternal Guards with shields. Get them. They're really good, I think, for the cost increase. You got the stat increases, but these guys are unbreakable. In the lore, I think they have to be unbreakable because they are the defenders in winter when like all the trees are resting, I think. So they need to protect the Wood Elves' borders to the bitter end, so they are unbreakable. They have charge defense against everything, and they have an encouraging aura to help your already super high leadership Eternal Guards to be even that, I don't really want to say tankier, but more durable, longer lasting, because this is most likely just going to hit the 2 units that are flanking this one. So you're going to have, 2 Eternal Guards with shields flanking this guy in most cases, and that center of your formation is going to hold that much longer because these guys are unbreakable. They have better stats, encouraging aura, and charge defense versus everything. Yeah, I think they are good. I think you're going to see them all the time. All the time. Thumbs up for me. Second one we go on to is Loex Tricksters, which are going to be upgraded Azrai Spear War Dancers for 200 more. Again, increased better stats. But these units have Frenzy. I think that's new, right? Yeah. So they have Frenzy. Then they also gain the Storm of Blades, which is going to... Actually, do the other ones have that? No, because they have a different... Yeah. So the normal ones have Woven Mist, which is an ability that I never ever used. It granted them missile resistance and missile defense. Good, but I never used it. These Renowned version have different ones. Storm of Blades is going to make them more offensive while losing some defense, and then they also gain something that's really cool, which is Loex Shroud. For 26 seconds, they gain stalk and 24% speed. These ladies move at a speed of 48 already, so if you really want to be... That's probably why they call it Loex Tricksters, because you can just, boom, stalk them and then just move them anywhere. And they have stalk for 26 seconds, and they can get around really quickly with this buff. And I think they are very good. You can have surprise ambushes anywhere in the enemy's formation. They're super fast. They're still really good against large units, large cav, and all that stuff. So yeah, I think they're definitely a worthwhile unit. Next on, we move on to the Wardens of Scythril. These are going to be, I don't necessarily want to say the upgraded version of the Wildwood Rangers, because they're actually slightly different. Because these Wardens gain a shield, so they're going to lose some of their damage, as you can see here. Their stats, like melee attack and defense, are increased way up. Their leadership is plus 11, so that's really great. And these Wardens gain a Sundering attack, which is huge. Sundering is such a big deal in this game. Lowering a unit's armor by minus 30, or any unit this thing is engaged with, is a big deal and makes all of your units do more damage to whatever they're facing. So I don't necessarily want to say it's a direct upgrade, but it's just they're different now. They are still focused on large armor piercing, as you can see here, but again, they don't do as much damage because they just have a spear instead of a giant glaive. But on top of that, they also now gain stalk and defense versus large at all times. Normal Wildwood Rangers have a defense versus large while in a forest. These have it out in the field. And also, sorry, they have Vanguard deployment too, which is neat. I mean, like, I guess you can set up like ambushes maybe. You can draw the enemy out to the flanks, like lure them in with your Wild Riders or your, what do they call them? What are these things called? Glade Riders. And then, surprise! Wardens are out here stalked and you didn't see them, and they can tear up some armored cav, especially with the Sundering ability. So there are some different situations you can use these for. I would probably just mostly use them on the main line. And I think they're pretty good. That's it. That's my review of them. I think they're pretty good. What I also think, and this kind of surprises me, that's also pretty good, are the upgraded versions of the Way Watchers. The Hawkeyes of Drakira. Better melee stats and leadership, but this is a really big deal. For 200 more, you're gaining a smoke bomb, which is pretty effective at keeping units off of the Way Watchers, which is kind of their biggest thing. They are very brittle, very expensive archers, but now their attacks are not only stronger than Way Watchers, which were already insanely strong. Now they're up to 35 attack damage. Most of that is focused on armor piercing, but they also discourage for 10 seconds. Discourage on a unit that has 180 range, is stalking so you don't even know it's there on the battlefield, has such high damage, and discourage. Morale is such a big part in this game for a lot of races, especially those like Norsa kind of suffers from leadership issues, kinda. The bigger ones are going to be the Greenskins, definitely. So minus 16 leadership. Like, hit a troll with this unit. A troll only has, what, 36? I think, leadership. Knock that down with this unit, and then just have a unit that has, like, terror around the troll, because trolls don't have terror, right? I'm not crazy. They only have fear. Yeah, they only have fear. So you hit a troll, you know, once, with one salvo, throw a terror unit nearby, it's just instant rout. And a lot of the greenskin units, especially like the Gobos, you hit them with this discourage ability, like, it's a big deal, friends. I don't know if... I can't stress that enough. It's a big deal. So I think these are actually going to be worth it. They also can do a ton of damage versus mammoths because they just deal so much damage at such a huge range. And I'm actually going to show you another video here using 3 Way Watchers, which I never thought I would use. But with this discourage ability, I think it's pretty cool. And then I throw in some of the other renowned units in this battle, and also Durthu, which I think got a stealth upgrade to the Sword of Daith. I don't remember it lasting 17 seconds. And I think it does more damage in my test that I've done. I'm not entirely sure. And CA's patch notes are terrible. Beyond terrible. They always have been. And I think this may be another stealth upgrade. I'm not sure. But I'm going to throw Durthu in here as well to combat against, I think, Wolfric and another Mammoth. So let me show you this video showing you the damage of these new Way Watchers.
Death to all! They send forth the creatures!
Eldritch Rastia.
Way Watchers! We never miss! Wildwood Rangers! prepare the battle!
They seem to be pretty good. They can focus down the Norskin mammoths pretty well. Again, Durthu is a pretty good combatant against the mammoths, kinda. And yeah, I think I may actually use these guys. I may substitute the other two-way watchers just to get more Gladegar with Starfire Shafts, which will do about the same amount of damage at around the same price as well, but still throw these guys in there because that discouraging is such a big deal. It is such a big deal. I can't stress that enough. I think these guys are actually really good, even though they're super expensive, and I can't believe I'm saying a Way Watcher is good, because what the hell is life? Okay, moving on to the Wild Hunters of Kurnos. These are going to be the upgraded Wild Riders with shields, upgraded stats, but their big thing is going to be the addition of the Guardian ability, and that's it. They have Guardian ability, which is going to be the 36% physical resistance to all lords and heroes around them. For the Wood Elf army, this is not as impactful as it is, I think, with the Chaos army, or even the Beastman army. Because a lot of these units, you don't really want them in melee necessarily, or if you do, you want them to just do, like, quick strikes. This will make the Glade Lords tankier if they are around the Wild Hunters of Kurnos. They could definitely double up with Durthu and make him supremely tanky, because he already has a 20% physical resistance because he's a tree person, a tree man, a whatever, tree dude. So it makes them very, very tanky to have these guys nearby. But, like, other than that, I mean, I guess maybe Orion too, if you really want to. I just don't think this army really benefits as much from the Guardian ability. It's neat that they have it. I think it's best used with Durthu, but you can try and use it with the other Glade Lords. It will make them tankier, but I still don't think they're going to be, like, brutes in melee. That's not going to change their melee stats necessarily and make them somewhat, like, all of a sudden, like, as strong as Karl Franz. But it's neat that they have them, but I'm kind of meh on the Wild Hunters because there's really nothing else added besides the Guardian ability. But again, it's neat. Then we move on to the last one, the Firebark Elders, the upgraded version of the Treekin. This is weird. I'm also kind of meh on these guys. They do have the better stats. They do also gain a flaming attack on top of the magical damage. And their big deal is that they are already on fire, so they have a high resistance to fire. And then they also have the wildfire aura. I mean, it's cool because it totally negates the flame weakness that trees have, because it is a 40% flame weakness, and that's neat. But I'm not impressed, really. They're tankier Treekin with fire attacks and fire resistance. They do lose their physical resistance, though, that other trees have, so they don't have that going for them. But if you're worried about the enemy bringing a ton of fire damage, like, potentially... Like, the problem is, fire... Like, there is that fire spell that adds flaming damage to all units, but not many people really utilize the fire lore in the factions that they belong to. Like, I think the highest you'll probably see... You may actually see some Norskins use it, but besides that, I think it was Chaos. Like, Empire has it, but why use a Bright Wizard when you have all those other wizards? So I don't really think you're going to see too many units rolling around with flame damage to really even worry about the flame weakness necessarily. I guess maybe against, like, Petunia, they're probably going to bring those fire arrows against you to try and kill Treekin, so these guys may be worth it against Petunia, but overall, this is another one of those units that I don't think you need in every unit composition, but... against maybe certain races, especially Petunia, now that I think about it, with the fire peasants are pretty common. So maybe throw them in there against Petunia, and you will not have to deal with that flame weakness anymore. Or at least you and, like, two others, because it's a pretty small effect range. And that's it for the Wood Elves, and that is it for the kind of review of the Renown units added with the Norskin pack. Or is it called the Old World Foundation Pack? I can't remember what the patch is called. Overall, I think Chaos got the coolest stuff by far. Wood Elves have some interesting unit additions, but I'm kind of on them. The Beastmen I'm pretty meh about overall, except for those Minotaurs. And then Petunia got some really cool knights. The Holy Wardens are pretty cool. These guys I think are definitely meh. But these knights are cool. Like, these knights are really cool. Especially these companions. I think they're really, really cool. And you're probably going to be seeing these a lot too. So I'm kind of like half and half. There's some really cool. I love what they did with Chaos. I love it. I love like almost all those units that they added. But the other factions I'm just kind of half and half on. So overall, it's cool that they released these for free, because that was the right move. To release a paid DLC for DLC factions that you had to pay for would have been the wrong move. So good on CA for releasing these units, but I feel like a lot of these units are kind of uninspired, except for when it specifically comes to Chaos. Like, I feel like they really added flair to the Chaos Army, and again, a good step to Chaos Divided, where we can have multiple Chaos armies that are actually devoted to Nurgle, Siege, Slanesh, and Khorne. So, good on the Chaos. Everything else, you know, it's whatever. But again, you can pick this up going to Total War Access, sign up there, and they should give you a free account. And then you can test out these Renown units for yourself and see if you agree or disagree with my assessment of these units overall. Hope you enjoyed the video, everybody, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.